Welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm David Bowles, and today we're going to talk about patience and ongoing persistence of vision for a project that can take 30 years to develop. What was kept from you? There was a moment in your life when you found out. Maybe you were 11, and a cousin let something slip at a family dinner. Perhaps it happened at 34, going through a parent's papers after a funeral, when a folder you were not supposed to open contained a name you had never heard. Or you were 58, and a half-sister you did not know you had appeared in your DNA results. The detail varies from one person to the next. What stays constant is the texture of the moment. The room reorganizes itself. Around it, the faces of the people who had known reorganize along with the room. And then the realization arrives that the world you had been living in was a smaller version of the world, edited for you by people who had decided what you could be told and when. I want to talk right now about what it means to sit on the receiving end of a structural decision someone else has made about your knowledge. The decisions where a person, or a committee, or an institution looks at another human being and decides that the truth would not serve them, that the truth will be administered later, in doses on a schedule the person being administered to did not consent to and cannot see. This is the oldest moral problem in medicine, in parenting, in government, in war. It is also the central question of a novel I have just published. The novel is called Ischia, is burning. It takes place in the autumn of 1986 in a basin on the western flank of the Italian island of Ischia, in a place called Mazavia. There are 4 adults living in that basin. There are 16 children. Their ages range from 6 to 17. The adults are, by training, an anthropologist, a physician, a pilot, and a linguist. The children believe they are living in the Iron Age. They believe this because the adults have built the basin to be the Iron Age. The clothing is hand-woven. The tools are forged in a small mill the children themselves operate. Crops grow without modern fertilizer. The language the children speak is a constructed Germanic dialect rooted in Old Norse and Old High German. The cosmology is invented. There are 4 gods. There are 8 constellations. No radio enters the basin. No printed page betrays the year. The antibiotic that would tell a child the world contains chemistry beyond the herbal poultice does not exist there. The adults have withheld 24 years of European history from these children. They have done this on purpose. They believe they are doing it for the children's good. The book has the velocity of a thriller. It assembles the case against the 4 adults, the way an indictment would. What it adds, beyond either form, is the temptation itself, held up as the central object of attention. The temptation I am pointing at is the temptation a small group of educated people experiences. When they look at a larger group of people and decide in private that they know what is best, and that what is best can only be served by withholding the diagnosis, the prognosis, the consent form, withholding the country, the century, the language, the antibiotic, the photograph, the radio, the printed page. The temptation is older than the basin. It ran the Tuskegee study for 40 years. It ran the Willowbrook hepatitis study for 15. A decree in Romania withheld contraception and abortion from women for 23 years and produced a generation of orphans who learned about their own existence through television cameras after the regime collapsed. A prison ran in Stanford for 6 days in 1971 before a graduate student walked in and asked the question nobody else had asked. which was, what are you doing to these people? And on whose authority? I am not equating the basin to those places. The fictional 16 children of Mazavia are not the 400 men of Macon County, Alabama, who were watched for 40 years while syphilis ate them. Scale, century, and machinery do not match across those examples. What persists across all of them is the moral physics. A small group of educated people looking at a larger group deciding in private what the larger group will be permitted to know. The temptation does not go away. It returns under different cover, with different vocabulary attached to different technologies. The cover and the vocabulary change, while the underlying decision does not. I wrote the first version of this story as a screenplay in 1990 in the second year of an MFA program at Columbia. I knew there were 4 scientists and 16 children and a basin and a fire. The children were going to find out. That much was on the page. What finding out would cost them was beyond me at 25. So was what finding out would cost the adults who had spent 18 years not telling. I am 61 now. I sat down with the screenplay in May. The pages were yellowed at the edges. The staples had rusted. Half the dialogue made me wince. The bones were exactly where I had left them. I wrote the novel between then and now. The dedication of the book is 1 sentence long. It reads, "For the children who were never told." I want to be precise about who that dedication is for. The children inside the basin in the novel, first, who are fictional, although the patterns of behavior they live inside are documented in places that were not fictional. Beyond them, every listener who has ever sat across from a parent, or a doctor, or a government, and realized that the version of the world they had been given was a redacted version, edited by someone who had decided on their behalf what they could carry. There is a harder dedication still. The book is also for the adults who decided. Those 4 scientists in the basin can defend every individual decision they made. What the novel is interested in is how educated, careful, well-spoken people arrive at a project that, taken in aggregate, looks like the thing they would never have built if they had been able to see the whole shape of it from the outside. The novel does not let them off the hook for building it. That is the temptation. It is mine, and it is yours, and it belongs to every committee that has ever met behind a closed door to decide what a larger group of people would be permitted to know. The book is Ischia is Burning. Paperback and Kindle edition are available now. A free web reading edition lives at bowlesbooks.com. If you have ever found out you know what the children are going through, if you have ever decided not to tell, the novel has a question for you too. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm David Bowles, wishing you a safe evening and a brighter tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Be a Human Meme